call the meeting to order. You take roll at 7:02. Number 2, approval of the consent agenda.
Everything is routine in nature. I do want you to know what we're doing with the activity fund report on L. Every year Kendra kind of looks at accounts that maybe we're not using and are not being, and there's so many activity accounts that we try to close out the ones that we can. And then what we do is we put, if there's money in there, like there was a vocal account that we're closing down, we'll put it into the other vocal account. So we try to stay with whatever that money should kind of pairs with. And if there's nothing to pair with, there we have a beautification account that we put money into that, like if we need flowers for something, or if we need to purchase a meal for a noon board meeting, or if the teachers need something. So we kind of use it for that, and it's really just something that I kind of oversee, and so that's where that money goes. And at every place I've ever been, we've called it the superintendent's account, because I've always, but for some reason Buddy doesn't like that, so we just call it what he tells us to call it, and that's where all that goes. So it's really kind of a cleanup for what that is. And then we did get a resignation from Debbie Boothby. She and her husband moved back to Ohio. Max was the preacher at, I'm not sure which church,
Cherokee, I think.
Cherokee, yeah. And so they just went back home. I think Max was from here maybe, right? And Debbie was from, anyway, I don't know. But we do, I will tell you that we do kind of have that covered from within. So her resignation was kind of late, but that was okay. So other than that, everything else is just kind of routine.
Any other questions, concerns? Need a minute, look over anything.
Motion to approve.
Amber's made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Gibson, second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
Number 3, discussion and vote to provide free breakfast for certified and non-certified staff in the school district for the 18-19 school year.
We've already decided we were going to do that for the kids, and we do need to have a vote on this, so because it becomes a benefit on our teachers' contracts. So if you're willing to, we can afford it, and I'd like to continue to do that.
Motion to approve.
Amber's motion, I'll second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
Number 4, discussion and vote to approve the 11th and 12th grade mathematics and science courses taken from the Career Technology Centers for the 18-19 school year.
This has to be done for their record keeping. There are some math and science courses that are taken at the Career Tech that we, every year, this is an item that's on there every year, that we replace on our transcripts because they taught it there. And they have to have a board okay that we can do that, so that's what we do.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Amber's motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Desiree, second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Number 5, proposed executive session to discuss the employment of personnel, so that the coordinator return to open session and vote to employ or find reason not to employ personnel 25 OS Section 307B1.
Motion to convene.
Amber's made a motion. Gibson, second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
7:06.
You know, at least the weather hasn't been like, I mean, today and yesterday it was blazing hot, but at least it's been not dangerously horrible.
He's enjoyed it, so it's not been bad. He just comes home, takes a shower, and he rests for the rest of the day. So I'm like, hey, you got the rest of the day to do whatever. Motion to adjourn.
You already did that. Hearing none, the board returns to open session, 7:58. If you read the minutes.
We gotta have a second first.
Oh, you thought you.
I said that.
Oh, yes, I seconded.
oh, did Amber say it?
I think Amber made the motion,
Sorry. Littlefield,
that's right, me. Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes. during the executive session, we discussed the employment of personnel.
Number 9, vote to employ or find reason not to employ the following personnel from 25 OS, section 270, A through D. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to employ the slate of listed individuals.
I'll second that. Amber motion, I second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
Number 10, discussion and vote to approve the librarian statutory waiver deregulation for library K through 12.
Just what we do when we need to get somebody certified in library, and it's not uncommon in kind of the times that we're in, that we have to get somebody certified in something. So,
Make a motion to approve the statutory waiver.
Second.
Gibson second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
Number 11, discussion and vote to approve adjunct teaching status for the 18-19.
Brooke Meyer works for Northwest Technology Center, and she will be teaching some science classes that will be transcribed on our transcripts from Northwest Technology. Lindy is still working on certification in biology and anatomy, and so she'll be teaching 1 hour of those, I believe. Jeremy's at 1 hour of each, or just if as
Two
needed.
biology and one anatomy.
Two biology, 1 anatomy. And then Amanda is going to be teaching a class of world history. Is she working toward that sort of
World
testing?
geography, and she said she'd try to have that done, or maybe after softball season.
Softball's over. So these people are still working on those, but we can do the adjunct teaching so that they can continue to teach for us while they're working on it.
Motion to approve.
Amber's motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Gibson second. Judy?
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
Number 12, discussion and vote to approve the updated student handbook for 6 through 12.
I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy. I think there were just some housekeeping and then a couple things, so let you know, you can tell you what they're going
I'd love to take credit. Bryce did all the legwork and the nice typing. Basically, there was 2 things. The first thing was, with the amount of activities we have going on, athletics, speech and debate, FFA, FCCLA, choir, band, the policy was requested to be put in the handbook with discussion with teachers about students leaving to activities, not getting assignments turned in, or getting behind. What this policy would do was it would allow the teacher to assign the work, get it to them, and then have them return it upon returning to school. So that's what the language changes in this policy. Right now, the way it's set was the policy, or the homework is given. Well, a lot of times the homework they get it when they get back, and then it might be another 2 or 3 days before they can get it turned in. You guys have any questions on that one?
I think what they're trying to do is just really help the kids out to making sure that homework is completed. Now that we're 1-to-1, it's a lot easier when they go places to, they can remote in to their teacher, they can do that. So this is really going to, they won't like it as much as but it's best for them, and it really will help with, because they do, Jeremy's and Bryce's kids, they go a lot. The ones that are active, they go a lot.
There's no questions. On number 2, transfer credits from ascending school. Basically, we have, this is not something that we've come across very often. It did come across to us. And basically, this would just allow the opportunity for a student who transfers in to maintain the honor credits they were on track to receive. The student must have completed the course, will not be allowed to receive partial credit. We previously did not have a policy to address this situation and felt we need to have this in place if the situation arises. Doesn't happen very often, will allow us to address as they come in and not something that gets caught or questioned right before graduation. Final decision will be made by the administration and counselor, may be subject to the review of the board. So basically just somebody that transfers in, you know, that their credits follow them, they were on track, and it gives them the opportunity to come in and still be on track to be that honor graduate or whatever. It doesn't really hurt anybody, it just gives that person the chance. And like I said, we didn't have this come up till just recently. You guys have any questions on that one? And then the last one, basically, we don't have any other policy in our handbook that relates to any type of activity, and it was asked for that to be taken out of the handbook.
Now, does she have her own?
She has her own handbook, and again, it's just something, we don't have speech and debate, facts. It's just, I wasn't here when they put it in originally.
So what it is that we basically had one activity that had their own handbook, but it was also being held to another handbook. So what she's trying to do is streamline to just be able to be held to her handbook, just like every other activity that we have.
Yes.
So, okay. But she didn't change any of the requirements or regulations of what she's expecting of them. She's just wanting to.
No, I mean, it's the same as it's been the last several years for her. It's just, I don't even remember what was in the handbook previously, but, and I don't know how it ever got in there, but I mean, I'm sure back, maybe there was a day that they felt the need, but.
Yeah, there was a day it needed to be.
Well,
Several years ago, it needed to be in there.
any discussion? Anybody want to discuss?
My discussion is that if, and not just her, if you've got them creating their own policies, they should go before either the athletic director or one of our principals, not them deciding it on their own.
Okay, so you think if the sponsor has a trouble with us?
I think what policy they want to present to parents, someone else needs to be on top of looking at it.
Okay. So you think, so let me see if this would help. We can take this out of the handbook, but would you feel more confident if I asked every activity that has their own handbook to present that to the board, and the board to approve the individual activity handbooks? Because that, honestly, if you don't have a board approval on an individual handbook, you don't really have a leg to stand on. So if they want to have rules and regulations, that is within the boundaries of what they have, but they need to have the legal stand behind it to be able to uphold what they're doing. And there's nothing wrong with other people reviewing what you're asking of people. So I agree with what you're saying. I think there has to be a network for both sides, for the kid and for the sponsor, to be able to be supported. So
Wouldn't that be a place for the administrators? Couldn't the administrators approve activity policies? I mean, that's.
they can, but even if I approve something, it's still not like you approved it.
Right.
You know, I can say, yeah, you can do that, or no, you can't.
I just don't want to get down to like regulating how many nacho bags we carry.
Yeah, no, I don't think so much that, but I think that if an activity sponsor has a set of requirements that they have for their kids, it's in their benefit also to have that run through their board, so that they're not putting us in a position when they're enforcing a rule that's not enforceable.
Right.
It could be that they're asking something that they can't ask, and they just don't know that, and that's why you sit. So maybe that's what the compromise to what we're saying here about is that we would ask that, Jeremy, anybody that you have that's got a handbook that is separate from the student handbook, to go ahead and put that together and put that through the board for review and for approval. And that's also to protect the sponsor and the student and the parent and everybody involved. And that way there's no question if there's a problem that arises. Does that sound like something that you would be agreeable to? Or I know you guys have never been a board that oversteps and wants to get in somebody's nachos. You don't want to do that, and you're great. I do just think there's sometimes that it needs to be a vote by you that says, this is what we stand by, and also, if it ever came to you as a decision, it's something that you have said, this is what we agreed to, and not, it wouldn't be putting you in a position of saying, I've never seen this. I didn't know that this is what was being asked of kids.
How many policies do we have?
You're probably gonna look at, you're probably gonna have an FFA and a CCLA, speech and debate, cheerleading. I don't know about athletics, I don't think they really ever.
Football, basketball, track, they don't have their own little.
I don't think there's anything on paper.
Okay.
I think it would just be your, it's gonna be your fine arts and your cheerleading.
Okay, so not as bad as I was thinking.
Jeremy, do you feel like that's reasonable?
I somewhat tend to agree with somewhat what Corey's saying, but if that's what you guys want to do, then that's.
I'm not opposed to it, I just don't want to be getting too deep into the weeds either.
And are we talking, are you gonna say all levels or just high school or?
I think anybody that holds students to rules that are activity, classroom sets of rules are, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about conduct and things that are separate from what you're asking them for in the handbook. They're asking them something above and beyond what's in the handbook for their specific needs. And they should not be able to ask them for those things. But I think that in order to protect all parties, it needs to have been reviewed by somebody other than just the sponsor. Just once in a while, there's going to be a legal issue that comes up. And if we don't have a legal leg to stand on because we're asking something that's not askable, then what we're doing is we're not being proactive and stopping some
So
problems that we could have.
you'll have 3 cheerleading handbooks. You're gonna have an FFA, FCCLA, speech and debate, probably music and a band.
And they're not that
Yeah.
in depth, they're not that,
Right.
it's just conduct that they're asking them to provide.
Is that something that would go into effect this year? Is that something that we can
I think
approve at
it-
the next board meeting?
Yeah, I
Implement
think
it? Okay.
at the next board meeting, if they would just have that for your review. I mean, I don't think anybody at the table is asking to run anybody's program. I think they're I think it's very reasonable to ask to see what we're being,
Yeah.
asking children to have held to.
Any other questions or concerns for number 12?
Do you want to table that last one, or do you want
Why don't we go ahead
Well,
and
it
remove
would
it?
be,
to approve it?
Go ahead and remove it.
yeah,
And you can just say in the wording, to be reviewed at the next board meeting, activity handbooks to be reviewed
well,
at the next board meeting.
we're going ahead and we're going to approve the changes,
Mhm.
and then at the next board meeting, we'll look at
Yeah, just look at those.
handbook policy.
Because in the end, if there's a problem, it'll come up the line and it could eventually get to you. And if it's not something that you have said that we agree to govern it that way, then we've created a problem.
Can I make a motion that we approve the updated student handbooks and we'll get it on the agenda for policy approvals within the school on next meeting, next month's meeting? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll have it on the agenda. Jeremy can
So I
give
made
us
the
a-
motion and Gibbs the second.
Littlefield,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite.
Yes.
Number 13, principals report.
I just have some enrollment numbers for our online enrollment. It's gone pretty well. Have a hard time getting the ones to come in and sign those little 3 pieces of paper that we need, but I've got 221 enrolled right now. And there's 3 or 4 that I know are in town that just haven't done any online enrollment. I have about 15 that moved away and 19 new ones.
Does that 221 count your 3-year-olds?
Yeah. So I don't know until we test them how many will actually be on our count.
Yeah. And the way that works with 3-year-olds is that The only way that we receive any money from the state for a 3-year-old is if they actually need speech services, and then it goes through the special needs category. Other than that, we provide a 3-year-old program as a courtesy to our community to give them an option if they want their kids to go at 3, and if they don't, that's just fine too. But it's completely at the discretion of the board to do that every year. And so far, it's gone really well, and it's really, when I talk to the teachers at like the first grade level right now, and because this is the first 3-year-old class is about in the first grade now, and they can, they say they can see a difference. So that's really encouraging to know that, you know, we're doing some good things for kids at a little age that they need it, and some don't. It's okay.
Anything else? Jeremy?
Miss Cherokee's tomorrow night in the auditorium. Lacey Augert always puts on a really good show. First day of school is obviously Thursday. Softball starting, cross country. The FFA is going to have a back-to-school social at the fairgrounds on August 13th at 6:30. I hear he's going to have some fun stuff for the kids to do there. Meet the Chiefs for the football team is August the 15th at 7:30. And just scrimmages, football, you name it, it's coming. Enrollment, what was it, 100, last time we looked at that, what was it, 107? 130.
Are completely, totally.
Yeah.
Filled out their paperwork, done
We
their
have
online
several that have
stuff.
not came in, so.
Yes.
Been going pretty good. We've had 10 new kids in this building, 10 new students, so. I thought it was a good first day. I think there were a lot of people really working hard to get ready for the first day of school.
We have to meet the teacher, elementary, Wednesday night, 5 to 6:30. An ice cream truck.
Ice cream truck.
Did you have fun? School's not
Number 14, you got anything going?
You know, we're just closing down the summer projects. The roof and all the red looks really nice. The 2 houses are down. We thank Billy for that. He worked with the county to get that done. I think Sharon Inman does an amazing job for us with summer and all the transportation and stuff like that. We just have some really good people that work through the summer. And this place is just transforming into this absolutely gorgeous campus. We'll just keep on doing that. I think that one of the things that I heard was, you know, the girls now have locker rooms for the track and the softball girls. We've turned those. And one of our coaches said, more than anything, that gives them ownership, because it doesn't just say in there, they're not just red benches. They say baby Chiefs, and it says junior high Chiefs. And he said, you know, giving that to those girls really sparks the program and encourages those kids. So really glad that we've done that, and ready to start, ready to get some of the practices that we brought back from model schools going in the classroom. They had a really good meeting today about writing across the curriculum. I think the whole high school is going to be doing a writing initiative. So some really good things going on at the high school and at the elementary. We've got some good leadership from our administration. Can't say enough about those guys. They work hard and do some great things for kids. So I'm just really excited about this year. Thank you guys for all you do. And I want to remind you that there's a registration that's if you can't give here, you just need to let us know, because we can cancel your registration, but if we don't do it in a certain amount of time, they'll charge us $50 to hold the place. So, that is it for me.
Thank you. Any new business? No new business. Number 16, do I have a motion to adjourn? Amber's the motion. All second. Judy?
Littlefield?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Willhite,
Yes.
8:19.